If you plan to fail, you fail to plan. You've heard that word before. While many people know the merits and values of a business plan, I would argue that most people are doing it wrong. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through what I've learned over the past 8 years of walking literally hundreds and hundreds of agents, individually and in groups, through a business planning process that I've refined to be very tactical, to be very inspirational. You see, those two oftentimes don't go together. We've got the inspiration like a dream board, and then together, very tactical of what do I do right now with the time that I have available. So in this episode, again, I'm going to walk you through how to do that. In fact, down in the show notes, I want you to click. I've given a link to where you can use this template that I'm going to be showing you that will allow you to accompany me through this process, build out your business plan, and begin thinking and achieving bigger in your business than you've ever thought possible before. Let's go. All right, welcome back. As I mentioned, that there are many people who can walk you through a business plan. And what I've found is that many times, sitting on the other side of that table, we think of a business plan as an annual event. We want to be a very responsible business owner. And so we go through the process of filling out a business plan. And then we set it aside and we look at it. We don't look at it for another 12 months when it's time to do that business plan again. And in reality, that is the equivalent of taking a big paper map. Think about in the olden days, maybe some of you are too young to even realize that this is how people used to navigate, but taking a giant paper map and putting it out, opening it up on the hood of your car, right? That's how they had to do it. So they could see what roads to go on. Yeah, crazy, huh? And then they had to kind of memorize or fold up the map to where they could kind of see it, but it was very hard to navigate themselves one place to another. Hence, many people would get lost, and men got this stereotype of saying that they never willing to ask for directions. This is all true. If you're too young to know about this, well, you can talk to your parents about it. But now we have this beautiful thing called GPS. You see, GPS works very differently than a big paper map that you have to unfold and try and map out how you're going to get there. GPS, you simply tell it where you want to go. It knows where you're at, and then it guides you on the fastest path and helps you to avoid even certain pitfalls that could slow you down. So what if you had a business plan that acted more like GPS than an old paper map? Because if you've been doing business planning the way that most people do business planning, you've been using the old paper map, right? You look at it once and you fold it up, put it on the seat next to you and try to remember how to get there. That's why you always get lost, right? So what I'm going to walk you through right now is going to be a template again that I have created over the past and refined over the past 8 years that's really designed to help couple together inspiration to get you very motivated to want to do this, together with the very tactical implementation of how to do it. And so I'm thrilled to dive in and help you to do this. Let's go ahead and get started. So this template, by the way, if you're wanting to get your hands on this, inside the description of this particular video, you'll see the link to it. Click on that. I'm giving it away. I used to actually sell this and people would pay me good money for this, but I'm more in a spirit of contribution right now. Coming up on the holidays, I'm feeling pretty merry and willing to give away lots of value to those of you who follow me on YouTube. So with that being said, this is the first thing that you're going to see. And you're going to say, Justin, this looks nothing like a business plan. And that's true. It doesn't look like a spreadsheet, right? Like most business plans look. And that's by design, because let's be honest, spreadsheets are pretty boring. And if you had to force yourself to go in and look at a spreadsheet every day, your eyes might start to go cross. But what if you could have pictures that really inspired you? Pictures that were of the key areas of life. Like, for example, and you see over here on the right-hand side, you see faith, family, fitness, right? Finances, family, freedom, all the stuff that is really the drivers of a great, well-balanced life. What if you were to have pictures in there that represented you? Pictures of you in your favorite vacation spot, pictures of the dream house you want to live in, right? Pictures of the relationships that matter the most to you and the fitness that you aspire to have. Think about if you had all of that right there. My guess is this would act more as a dream board that would allow you, or that would pull you into it regularly, because you'd be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm building. That's pretty exciting. That's what I'm doing, right? So the design behind this is to provide some inspiration and for you to dream a little bit. So this template, again, these are stock photos that I pulled from the internet, but I do have my own. In fact, let me tell you this, is that my Think Bigger operating system sits on the bookmark. It's the very first bookmark on my browser bar, so that I can look at it every day. And what inspiration it gives me to look at that. So I'd encourage you to do the same. When you're done with this, you're going to have an artifact that will really inspire you for a long, long time. So this here customize it, take pictures from the internet. Now, I would strongly recommend that if you are ever taking pictures from the internet and putting on a blog post, you're going to get yourself in trouble, right? But if you're doing it for your own private uses, people don't care, right? If you're the only one that's ever going to view this, just snag pictures from the internet that inspire you and upload them from your own camera reel, stuff that really talks about the aspirational life that you want to have, okay? So that's step one, fill this out, cover the key areas of life that mean the most to you, and be sure that it's something that draws you into it. Now we're going to go to step two, which is just the next tab of this particular Google spreadsheet. So as I just described, we are going to have you put in images. Many of you are very visually inspired, right? You're inspired by things that you see. I also think it's very important to articulate. When we have to speak something or type something and say it either out loud or in our head, it goes a bit deeper inside of our brain. So I would just encourage you to then articulate under this big Y section right up here, right? That particular section right there, what it means to you, like what you're actually trying to achieve. Like ultimately, what's the ultimate life goal that you're trying to achieve, okay? So just take some time, write that down. It's probably just a description of the images that you put in the first tab, okay? And then we're gonna jump down to the 5-year personal story. And the question I want you to answer is that if you were to go out 5 years from now, whenever now is for you, like fast forward 5 years, and we're looking at your personal life, not your business yet, we're talking about your personal life. In this personal life, we're gonna ask ourselves the question of, what am I so excited about? Like what has changed in the past 5 years, right? You're 5 years in the future, looking back, what's changed in the past 5 years that has me so excited, has me fired up, that I'm just thrilled about it? What has you excited? Change up that particular, or type in what's changed for you, okay, personally. The next section, the business story, you ask yourself the question, what does my business need to look like? What does my business need to be doing in order to allow me to have those things that I just described I would have in my personal story? And it's probably something around income. It's probably something around independence, like how much time freedom do I have and how much impact. Like the 3 I's is a really great way to identify and really define your business. What kind of impact are you having? How much freedom do you have? Independence? And how much income do you have? Okay. So then the next section here, the 1 year, you're going to type in, if we were to fast forward 1 year from now, what's changed in your personal life that makes this so exciting for you? Like what are you really thrilled about that's changed in the past year, right? This is 1 year in the forward, looking back on the past year. So put that in there. Then right below that, you're going to ask yourself the question of, and what does my business need to look like? What must my business be doing in order to accommodate those changes in my personal life? Okay. Then we're going to move down to this next section. Let me move it up to the top here. Okay, which is you're going to put in how many days per week you're working. Okay, how many days per week did you work? That's in this cell right up here. Keep in mind, only the sections in blue you should be adapting. Okay, everything else, right? Leave it alone. Okay, and by the way, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but you're going to get this in a view-only version. If you click on File up at the top and say File, edit that out too, please. File, make a copy, you'll be able to then make yourself the editor, and you can change whatever you want here, okay? But again, only change the blue, everything else could be a formula that messes up the overall calculations, okay? So once you have how many days per week, now it's not just working, because I know real estate agents are famous for saying I work every day of the week, right? Just because they check their email doesn't mean that you actually work, okay? How many days are you lead generating? How many days are you proactively searching out your particular business, okay? All right, and then you're gonna identify what holidays, okay? List them out, and it will automatically identify how many total holidays, which is the reason why we're doing all of this is because we're calculating $1 per hour for you, okay? $1 per hour is gonna give you a filter by which you're able to identify what activities you should be doing and which ones you should not. So as maybe as small as this activity may seem, as maybe irrelevant as it may seem, it's actually very important. The next section over here, you're going to identify what days you're going to take off, like what trips you're going to go on, right? What vacations you're going to go on. Happiness studies have shown that people get as much happiness out of preparing to go on a trip as they do actually on the trip. So give yourself the benefit of getting 2 times the amount of traction on any trips that you take by planning it in advance, okay? So you're going to put down not just how many days you're going to be off, but where you're going to, okay? All right. And you might check email when you're there, right? Your business may or may not be in a spot where you can totally unplug. But again, I think it's important that you get out of town. I think it's important that you go do something else, even if it's a real estate conference and you tack on some days at the end to go see some things, okay? And or maybe you're not there yet. Maybe that's next year. And this year is getting out of debt so that you can do that, right? Whatever your situation is, that's okay. All right. Now, let's go ahead and move to the next section here. All right, digital ads, all right? So the reason this whole section down here of expenses, okay, we're going to identify what it costs you to take a listing, what it costs you to be in business. Okay, so you're going to put down all of these things. And again, these are just placeholders, but this will calculate for you what it costs to take a listing. And this will help you to identify your net income versus just your gross. Okay. Have you ever realized, by the way, that the real estate industry is very, very good at calculating gross, right? How much gross commission, but it matters way less than how much money you actually get to take home. So it's important that we calculate that and have our targets and our goals towards what we take home, okay? So closing gift over here on the buyer side, maybe you've got other buyer expenses, home warranties or whatever, feel free to put that in. Marketing expenses, these are monthly expenses, right? So put these in. Now I have these blanked out. That doesn't mean you shouldn't market. You should have close to 10% of your overall gross should go back to marketing, right? If you're doing it by the book, okay? Over here, you should have also some additional expenses, right? Maybe it's coaching, right? Maybe it's some sort of desk fee, license, dues, classes, conferences, et cetera. Put those things in there, right? And estimate to the best of your ability, okay? Now, underneath the profit and loss, I want you to talk about how much of your, how much you pay out on your splits, okay? And then over here, annual cap amount, what is that cap at, okay? Now, you'll notice that you also then have a place, remember, only the blue cells you should be toying with. This 275 number here, if you look closely at my screen, you'll see 275. That's a gross commission that I think is going to be enough to get me the net that I want. Okay, but the only way to identify that is to then look down here at gross personal income, not gross commission, but gross personal income, right, before taxes. Okay, so that's 242. I have to ask myself, is that enough? And the way to double check to know if it's enough is to go back up here to the 1 year and say, this life that I said that I wanted 1 year from now, if I brought home $242,000 before taxes, is that going to give me what I want? And you might need to have a conversation with your tax professional to say, if I made this much and these were my expenses, how much would I need to pay in taxes so you can get an actual net, okay? So that might be an important step for you. But also, I don't want you to overthink this. Get ballpark, better to overshoot, right? Better to have a little more than you thought. No one's ever complained about having too much money. Okay, so now from that, once you've identified what this number should be, it's auto-calculating. Again, these in green, don't touch them, right? But what I would encourage you to do, let me zoom in here a little bit, is to pay special attention to the dollar per hour, okay? So that number right there, that dollar per hour, is telling you how much your time needs to be worth, 8 hours a day. What we said here was 5 days a week, right up here, 5 days a week minus the holidays and vacations, about $150 per day. So now what you should be able to do is also identify, right, how many, let me come back up here, how many dollars per workday, right? If it's $1,200 per workday and your average, commission is, let's say, $12,500, you should then be able to say every 10 working days, I should be closing a new property, right? That's a really easy way to identify, okay, that's it. That's about 3 a month, right? About 3 deals a month. And we'll see the math on that as we get a little closer down here. Okay, now this section here, again in blue, one that you should be editing, says activities I need to leverage. In other words, what are the activities that are not $150 an hour activity? In other words, what are the activities where I would say to myself, I am going to go, like, let's say any activity during the day. If you were to say, if I were to go to Indeed.com and write an ad and say, I'm posting this job, I'm paying $150 an hour to scroll social media aimlessly. You would never do that, right? It's not worth that. So you shouldn't be doing it either. Or to create flyers, $150 per hour. Of course not, right? That activity is not worth that much. So you need to be very aware of the things that you should not be doing. Now, an important step here is for you to identify that you probably can't hire all the people that you would love to hire right away. But what this is doing is creating a job description for you to be able to then identify what people you should be hiring or maybe even outsourcing to begin with to get those things off your plate. Now, let's go down here to this next section. This is the economic plan. Okay, economic plan says this. how much of my business is sellers versus buyers, right? So again, if we're only adjusting the blue cells, right? If I change this one to 50%, then this one over here will automatically adjust to 50. Right now, I've got 40% listings, 60% buyers, right? That may or may not be your situation. It's just, we're just filling in some numbers here. Okay, average listing commission rate, let's say it's 3%, and your average list price is $500,000. Put those numbers in. If it's different, change them, okay? Over here on this side, average buyer commission rate, let's say it's 2.5%, average buyer price, $500,000. Put that in, okay? What that's gonna do, it's gonna calculate based on how much revenue you said you needed, and based on the percentage of business, the commission rate and the average price is gonna tell you how many properties you need to list and sell. Okay, now here's the other magical part about this form, is that if you say you have, 8 properties, I was looking at the buy side, 8 closed listings. Let's say you say 90% of the time, the homes that I list actually sell within a reasonable amount of time, right? That means you would need 9 listings to close 8 of them. And if you get 7 out of 10 listing appointments you go on, right, that means that you would have, right, you'd need to take 13 listing appointments, or let's call it 1.5 per month, right, to get you 8 closed listings. Now on the buy side, same concept. Buyer conversion rate. In other words, how many times out of 10, when I'm working with buyers, they end up buying a house. If it's 70% of the time, then I would need 20 new buyers in order to close 14 of them, okay? Now coming up here, again, buyer appointment conversion rate. In other words, I sit down with buyers for the first time, 8 out of 10 times they say, we want to work with you, or we're committed to work with you, and they do work with you, right? That would be the fact that you would need 25 buyer appointments to get 20 new buyers to close 14 of them, okay? Or roughly 2.5 a month. Together, that would be 4 total appointments, 1.5 listings, 2.5 buyers. That's 4 monthly appointments, okay? So that all ties in there. Now you might want to ask yourself, let's go a little more granular. Let's go a little more tactical. What if we were to say, okay, I tend to do business more less as a solicitor, less as a vendor, less as a connector, more as an advisor. In other words, I make calls to people as their real estate wealth manager, right? That's the type of conversations I have, okay? If that's you, right, then that means your conversion rate is 4%. Now, if you're curious about learning about what does it mean to be a director, right? Where I've got a 10% conversion rate, send me a private message. I'm happy to send you some other trainings that will walk you through how to elevate your influence and act more as a director and get higher conversion on your conversations, okay? But that is something that we at Pro Insight help people to do, okay? But moving back to this, let's say I really show up as an advisor, okay? And 1 out of 25 calls that I make turn into a transaction because I really come from contribution. I'm calling truly as an advisor, okay? If that's the number, okay, 4%, that means you need to get 4 appointments per month. You need to have 100 conversations, right? 1/4 of them will convert, which equates down to then 5 daily live conversations every day. 5 conversations as an advisor gets you all the way to $275,000 gross. Okay, see how that works? Pretty cool, huh? I told you this spreadsheet's pretty amazing. I will admit I put a lot of time and effort into this, and it's not been just me. I can brag on it because I've had a number of very bright people, Cody Martens with Luminary Agent, Stephanie Peck with Peck's Realty Group, who have poured into this and made it even better. Don Yoakum, my partner, Pro Insight. Anyway, there's been some giants who have contributed to this to make it what it is today. Okay, so now let's go even more tactical. Okay, so I need 5 live conversations per day. Let's talk about the pillars, right? Where's my business coming from? I think sphere of influence should be everybody's, right? If you actually want to build a business that builds on itself versus having to start over every year, you should have sphere of influence. And now here is where you put in, what are the very specific tactics that I'm going to do every single month, right? Maybe it's notes, calls, and pop buys. Maybe it's something else, right? Put down what it is that you're going to do with your sphere, right? For example, send 2 emails each month, a market update and local lifestyle, client events 2 times per year, right? You can see that if you zoom in there and look more closely, right? So you put in your activities, not mine. You put in yours. What are you going to do to generate? And what I've said here, of those 4 appointments I need to get, 2 of them are going to come from my sphere. Okay. In other words, if I'm making 5 daily conversations per day, at least 2 to 3 of them are going to be with my sphere. Okay. Now you might also say centers of influence. So there's sphere of influence, friends, family, neighbors, and there's centers of influence, which is your professional network, which by the way, Pro Insight, that's what we do. We help you to build a professional network nationwide that of referral partners, people that refer you all the time. And so anyway, that's a little plug for Pro Insight, but that's what we do. That's what we're thrilled about helping people to do, is to build out that second pillar. If you're interested in that, just send me an email, justin@proinsight.com, and I can guide you to some resources that will help you with that. Including my book, by the way, The Upstream Model, which was the genesis of all of that. Okay. And then I would recommend not doing more than 3 pillars. Okay. So these 3 pillars, choose and list out the specific activities. Now, right, let's talk about your daily schedule. Okay. Now we get really tactical, which is, what activities am I doing at 8 a.m., at 8:30 a.m., right? What activities am I doing? Let me zoom in here. At 9 a.m., at 10 a.m., at 11:30 a.m., at 12 p.m., right? Okay. And then what projects am I working on that need to be done, that maybe sometimes get in the way or keep me from working at optimum pace? Now, whatever you put here, right, over here, is you identify specifically how frequently you're going to do that. And what happens on the next page is we actually have a full accountability system. Okay. Pretty cool. This 8 a.m. was pulled over from this previous page. At 8 a.m., I said that every day I was going to be sweeping my inbox so that I could focus on other things. Okay. So 8 a.m., sweep my inbox. And now as I go throughout my day on Tuesday, sweep my inbox, 8:30, study the market, connect with current clients, 9 a.m., social media work, email systems, 10 a.m., real estate related conversations, right? So now you can see that I'm moving throughout my day. The goal is to get every day in green, right? When this is in green up here, I've won. And then I can even put in how many appointments did I set? How many appointments did I go on? Contracts signed, gross commission income, and it's filling out up here this entire dashboard for you. So again, if you've ever, and then you can create, here's what I recommend, by the way, that you have a 12-week sprint. Okay. So each quarter is 13 weeks. So 12 weeks, take a week to reset, maybe go on a trip, right? Come back 12 weeks, take a week to reset. Okay. It's a beautiful plan, a beautiful way to really be setting up your year through a series of sprints. Okay. People can't catch you when you're sprinting. They can catch you if you're jogging. Okay. But you can't catch your goals if you're jogging, but you can catch your goals if you're sprinting, but you can't sprint for a whole year. Okay. You have to have some times where you take a bit of a victory lap and then get ready for the next sprint. So it's important that you map out your day according to this 12-week sprint, take a week, and then get ready to go again, get back in the blocks. Okay. So this is an entire accountability system for you, all built into, starting with, you create a blueprint. You create a blueprint for what it is that really inspires you. It says, that's the kind of person I want to be. That's what it looks like for me, right? Then you fill out the actual sheet and fill out the accountability. If this has been valuable for me, will you let me know? Some of my greatest joy in being this close to the industry has been the impact that I've had upon agents' lives. Now that I'm leading a technology platform that serves the real estate industry, I get to do that on a much broader scale. But the part that I miss is the one-on-one, knee-to-knee coaching, training individuals. So this is my attempt at continuing to do that. So if this has been valuable, will you leave a comment, a like, be sure and subscribe, send me a message, let me know that this was impactful for you and you appreciated what I brought to you today. And I look forward to having you really change your operating system from being one of a little bit scattered to one of helping you to truly think bigger. And again, thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to catching you on the next video. Take care.